Okay, let's do this. Hey everybody, it's Trader Razor from Conquer Wall Street on the go again. You guys said you like these on the go videos. So we got a lot to talk about today. Let's talk about the stock market. We're going to talk about some digital currencies, specifically Ethereum and Bitcoin. And we'll start off with equities because that seems to be the big news today. First up, there's good news in the markets, but there are some underlying concerns. However, they haven't manifested yet into anything that's significant enough to cause the market to drop. So what do I mean by that? So there's these geopolitical forces that could awaken at any given point in time. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Ukraine. I'm talking about Russia. I'm talking about Israel and Iran. I'm talking about the T word. And I'm not talking about number 45, our president. I'm talking about tariffs. And as you know, tariffs are what caused the correction back in February. So we always have that on the back of our minds. But here's the good news, and here's why I believe stocks continue to go up. Number one, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index data that everybody was watching out for today, it came in line with expectations. That's good news because it's showing that this big fear that tariffs are going to make massive inflation and crush the economy, that narrative is completely false. So the inflation picture has yet to play out. That is good for equities. That is good for cryptocurrency moving forward. And part of the reason why it's so good is if we look at the FedWatch tool and what the betting odds are for the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates moving forward, we see that following the release of the CPI, number one, the expectations for an interest rate cut in the month of September have increased to 94% probability of an interest rate cut in September. That is great news because, as you know, the markets love low interest rates. It's good for the consumer because the consumer can borrow at lower levels and they have more spending power. It's also good for businesses because businesses can borrow and they can leverage that money up to grow their businesses. But the news gets better on interest rate because the betting odds looking beyond September into October, it looks like the odds of a rate cut for October are currently sitting about 62%. So you could see back-to-back rate cuts in September and October moving forward, which I think could juice the stock market, assuming there's no other geopolitical problems that would occur. The other good news I want to talk about with equities is, yes, I believe equities are expensive on a valuation basis. That being said, sometimes stocks are expensive, but the expectation is that they grow into that valuation based off of forward-looking earnings. So we're at quarter two earnings currently. And what do we see with quarter two earnings? Well, we see that 90% of the companies have reported earnings. And based off of those reported earnings, it's showing almost 12% growth in earnings per share. That's good news. That says that even though stocks are expensive, the way earnings are growing, that they could grow, companies could grow into the valuation, and therefore we shouldn't see any type of shock to the markets unless something like inflation would creep in, and then the consumer would lose spending power and the markets would look forward and they go, holy smokes, earnings should start to contract because the consumer has less spending power because inflation is out of control. But as long as inflation is tame and as long as earnings continue to grow, I think the stock market is going to continue to go up because it's going to support the thesis that companies can grow into their valuations. And then finally, the other thing I want to talk about is tariffs. That big T word that caused the crash or the 20% correction we had in February, it looks like there's good news associated with tariffs beyond the point that inflation hasn't manifested yet. And that good news is simply this, that the extra revenue that is being generated by tariffs could reduce the federal budget deficit by up to $2.8 billion if you believe the latest news on that. That is good news because there's always this talk about there's not enough revenues coming in to support the budget and the deficit. And in a sense, this could possibly help to reduce some of the budget and also compensate for some of the spending without having to raise taxes on tax-paying citizens here in the US. So that's the big good news picture for equities. So we'll keep an eye on inflation and we'll keep an eye on geopolitical things. Those are the things that are always in the back of my mind that could cause a problem. So let's talk about the Trendmaster Pro systems now. Congratulations. If you've made it this far in the video, congratulations. Because if you are a free starter member and you've been following those systems, you know that yesterday our QQQ Trendmaster Pro system just locked in a 10% profit in about, I think it was like 2 months. And it's really close to locking in a 15% profit. And what's awesome is I give this system away for free at conquerwallstreet.com. Go check it out. If you haven't got a free membership, you can sign up for it. But it was really that easy as just checking your emails every day after the market closes and logging in maybe to the website occasionally. So congratulations to all of you members who have traded that system and you've locked in a really easy end of day trading strategy at 10%. Congratulations. Next, I want to talk about is the other Trendmaster systems for the digital currencies, Bitcoin and Ethereum. If you're a premium member, you've done really well on these, especially if you are trading Ethereum right now. That Genius Act has just juiced the returns in Ethereum. I think we got in that about 2 months ago also, and we're almost looking at a double our money in 2 months. Trendmaster Pro picked up the trend in Ethereum and we locked in profits. I don't care if Ethereum crashes. I don't care if Bitcoin crashes. And I'm going to tell you why. Because with Trendmaster Pro, as the stock, as the digital currencies or stock, as they go up, you lock in partial profits along the way. So we've already taken profits in Ethereum at 10%, at 15%, at 25%. And then the rest of it is just running. 50% of the money just runs after we've taken profit off the table. So if it crashes, we wait for a brand new signal, we buy back in more than we had before, and we ride the wave and we do it all over again. So if Ethereum crashes or Bitcoin crashes, I consider it a gift because we've already taken profits and we're just going to be able to buy more the next time around. That being said, Bitcoin's doing really well too for us. I talked about the resistance level in the last market analysis video. If you haven't watched that yet, log in, check it out. Bitcoin, there's a lot of people that leverage shorts between that 123 area, 120, 123. And if we push up above that, I expect a capitulation in prices, possibly up to about 130,000 in a very short period of time. And if I go backtrack to Ethereum, I also want to say, hey, Ethereum, we had that 3950 to 4100 area of resistance. It bebopped around 3950 for a little while, and then boom, it just catapulted through 4100. Thank you, Genius Act. That benefits Ethereum because, as you know, if you've been following me, a lot of stable coins are built upon the Ethereum ERC20 tokens, and this benefits Ethereum in the long run. And I think there's a lot of institutional buying into Ethereum because they were really underweight Ethereum going into the Genius Act. As always, if you don't understand anything, please hit me up with a comment or reach out to support at conquerwallstreet.com. I'll do my best to answer all of your questions in a timely manner. As always, be blessed, stay sharp, and prosper. Trader Razor out.